Atlanta Motor Speedway, round 7 of the NASCAR NEXTEL Cup Championship chase. Red Sox are 2-0, but Jack Roush isn't smiling today because he's 0 for 2 with this Carl Edwards Matt Kenseth flap. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it looks like whatever that flap is spreading to his teammates. Jack's got to get that team under control, that whole operation under control. Of course, it is good to see some excitement in the sport because after the Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson love fest, it seems like teammates ought to be at each other's throats a little more than what those two guys are. We've got a Red Bull shakeup to check on. Doug Rickards out at crew chief for Brian Vickers. See where they're going to go. They're supposed to have a press conference today. We'll check and see how that goes. This is a Bruton Smith track, and Bruton's still talking about doing his $350 million new speedway near Charlotte. And I'm thinking, well, why don't they move this track too? I mean, this track's on the wrong side of town. Nothing against fine folks down here in Hampton, but if it were up in Marietta, it'd be a lot more people, a lot more money. It's a richer section of the area. I talked to Ed Clark about that. He says there's no real talk about that, but when Bruton gets things going, next time they have one of these general managers meetings, it might be on the agenda. We'll have to see how that works out. And there's a question about the Busch race here too. It's not here. NASCAR took it and moved it to Memphis a couple of years ago, and Atlanta Motor Speedway wants it back. This ought to be a Busch Cup weekend. I'm not quite sure what they're doing in Memphis with this thing, but these teams are going to be flying back and forth. Carl Edwards is going to be flying back and forth. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think they ought to have the whole thing in one racetrack. One good bit of news about the Busch Series: Rich Heiberger's been hired to handle that program next season. That shows that NASCAR is probably serious about putting together a new package for the Busch, soon to be nationwide series, and I think that's really good. It's really good for the sport, and it's going to be really good for that particular series. Now, if they just get up to speed on some of the car bodies, I think they'll have something going. And that's the report from Atlanta Motor Speedway on Friday morning, round 7 of the NASCAR NEXTEL Cup chase. Mike Mulhern for the Winston-Salem Journal and JournalNow.com, and let's go get them.